Good morning, Clark Central staff. This is the video presentation of our faculty meeting from October 2016. Our agenda today is we'll have some celebrations. Also, just a reminder that I did send a link to the slide presentation for this meeting. So as you're watching the video, you can maneuver through the slide presentation as well. I shared that this morning close to 7:45 with everybody. So we're going to talk about celebrations today. We tabled the conversation on district walkthroughs. It's number 2 on the agenda because the district personnel wasn't able to be here today. We're talking a little bit about testing, security procedures, literacy, our PLDs, and land school, which is a resource, and then home internet access. So on slide number 3, these were started our celebrations. Congratulations to Mr. Barner and Miss Aaron. Both of them were celebrated last week for Teacher of the Year and Para of the Year at a luncheon over at Trump's. And then the center picture is a picture of our student section last night at the volleyball game. Our girls are going on to state. They placed in region, and so I snapped a picture of all of them cheering on. We had a great group there, and we were the loudest ones in the gym. So then if you move to slide number 5, that talks about testing. You'll see that there's a link in here. This link is an actual Google form. You'll need to click on this Google form by Friday, and you are going to check that you have read and understand all the information in here. I did want to review with you, this is just the generic form that we go over every year for testing and security breaches, and really it's just about your own protection. On the first section there, it talks about examples of testing irregularities that can include but are not limited to copying of information out of a test booklet, making or giving students answers, cloning information or changing information, or a disruption or student cheating are all violations. Know that we really don't use test booklets here anymore because we do everything online. So really the security stuff that you have are your the test tickets that have the students' login information on those. So that's really your secure documentation that you have. And so that means, be smart. Don't take a picture of a computer screen that has test questions on it or those kinds of things. Those would be irregularities. If you have a student that needs to move to a different group, you cannot text the information even if you know who the proctor is in that room. The student with the actual test ticket has to be transitioned with an administrator or a testing supervisor to that room. So you don't want to do any of those kinds of things. Any concern that you have regarding a testing irregularity or that you think might be a testing irregularity, here's how you protect yourself. You get one of us. You get one of the testing administrators to deal with that issue immediately. You report it. When you report it, you've really taken care of your obligation. We may ask you to type up what exactly happened as a part of our investigation, but most of the time we can handle all of those things if you've been smart about it. Then the next section just says, here are some things that are testing irregularities. Making answers available to examinees. Think about that ethics video that we watched at the beginning of the school year, and target solutions. That you can't give answers to students, you can't read a review information for students. You have to follow the administration procedures, read exactly what's in the booklet, and make sure that everything is secure once it's in your possession. You'll read through all these others and sign off all of them individually. The other piece is calculator use. All students will use the calculator online this year. We will not be handing out any calculators, but if for some reason you did have somebody that had access to a calculator for some kind of an accommodation, you just have to make sure that you follow the rules of that. If it's a memory held calculator, that memory is cleared and those kinds of things. So there's a section in here on calculators. The other piece is cell phones. That's a big issue. Our procedure is we collect cell phones and they are placed in a container in the front of the room. And just simply having a cell phone in the testing environment does not mitigate an irregularity. However, if somebody were to use the cell phone to try to transmit answers or make a copy of test questions or those kinds of things, certainly that would be it, and you'd report it. Again, your safeguard is if when in doubt, call a testing administrator and we'll come and make the decision on that. If they just simply have possession, that would be handled through our code of conduct, like we would do any other thing. One of the conversations that has come up this year with the new iWatches that can serve as phones and send messages and receive messages, we have asked for clarity regarding that, and as we get closer to our major testing of the school year, we may have to address collecting those as well, but more information will come on that. If you are, when you are on social media sites or websites or those kinds of things, or students make you aware of test information being out there on those sites, you need to report that. That could happen even not during a testing setting. It could happen at other times throughout the school year or around testing times. So that you also have to report. A reminder also is a proctor. You need to refrain from having phone conversations, sending emails, and sending texts, and taking photos or posting on social media. You may have to send us an email. You may have to pick up the phone and call for somebody to come to your room. There's always people in the hallway, but if there is something that there's nobody in the hallway and you need to send us an email, that's fine. Just remember that we may not see an email until the very end of the day. So really just putting your head in the hallway is the best way to get somebody, because really the expectation is you're up and around the room and monitoring students during the whole testing session. And then the other piece to remind you is, if you were to not follow all testing procedures based on the training that you've been given, it could be a code of ethics violation for educators, which could result in your certificate being suspended or taken away, or even a loss of your job. So make sure you read through this thoroughly. I'm asking you that by Friday you've gone to this link and completed this form online. I'm sorry, by Friday that you've gone to this link and completed this form online. The next section that I wanted to talk about a little bit was security procedures. The security procedures, we are reminding you that if you need security or an administrator to come to your room, please push the button that's in your room or dial 0 to get the main office. That's the quickest way to get somebody to your room. Also, we're lucky that we do have new video equipment here that is very helpful. So if you feel like there's some video that we need to review or security needs to review based on an incident that you may have seen or just walked up on, please send those requests to an administrator, and we'll funnel those off to security, and they'll follow it up. Officer logins just about every day is looking at video footage for us, that we have forwarded and asked her to do. Also, if you could help us with some of the graffiti. We've got somebody that's going through our building and kind of making wave marks up and down our hallways. We've tried to identify who those are during transitions. So really, if you are out in the hallway during a transition, you don't see graffiti, and then you step out during the next class period and you see it, put the date, time, day, and email that to an administrator. Same thing for the video request, date, time of day, those kinds of things, and location, so we can look for those videos. Because we could do the same thing and go back with that graffiti and see if we can find who had done that. So just asking for your help with those kinds of things. The next piece is literacy. The literacy team met to debrief about our first collaborative literacy meeting, and some feedback that we had was really we want to steer our conversations to what literacy strategies we are trying, and then how those literacy strategies are changing our practice. On slide 7, you'll see here's the rubric for professional growth, again, that's tied to an evaluation. A level 1 means that you just went. You went, you signed in, you didn't participate. Level 2 meant you went and maybe you tried a literacy strategy. But the expected level is really level 3, where that you're having conversations and you're explaining how this literacy strategy changed your practice and benefiting students in their instructional knowledge. And then of course level 4 is if you're acting as a leader of others, a teacher leader, and maybe doing some training on literacy. So please make sure also that when you are going to these meetings that you're addressing, have tried a literacy strategy in those that were assigned. So the first assignment was the literacy strategies numbers 1 through 7. I think it's 8 through 15 this next time. So it needs to be a literacy strategy from there, not one that you found on the internet or that a colleague told you about. Those certainly can be valid, but in order for us to all have a common conversation, we really need to focus on those literacy strategies that we're working on in that book together. If you have any questions about that, please follow up with Dr. Boza. The next section is about our PLD protocol in Land School. Mr. Piazza shared with us about Land School. If you're not familiar with Land School, it is an availability for you to link into all of your students' computers while they're working on the computer and see what they're doing. So if they're off task, you can hold to their screen until you get their attention until they're back on task. So there's in the bit.ly here, a step-by-step of how to set that up, a help document. If you were needed some face-to-face time, he is going to be available on Monday the 17th and Tuesday the 18th in the Media Center for a question and answer, and his email is here on this slide as well. Also, Ms. Weaver spoke to us about a subcommittee of the one-to-one team, met and have some protocols linked here for if a student leaves their device in your classroom or leaves their charger in your classroom if something was stolen, procedures to follow just so that you'll know step by step what to do because they've gotten some questions. So they're asking you please not to hold on to somebody's device, make sure it gets to the Media Center. Don't hold on to a charger, make sure that gets to the Media Center and review those procedures. If you have any questions or concerns, contact Ms. Weaver or Ms. Tedder in the Media Center. The last slide here is talking about internet access at home. They have made these available really for you for parent-teacher conferences. If students qualify, they can get $10 a month internet at home. There's applications here in English and Spanish. And also then the request form for the hotspots. We have found out we still have some available. We've talked about this before, but our hotspots request form, if you have a student that is in need and needs access to a hotspot to do work at home, you can fill out this form and submit it to the Media Center, and they will take care of seeing if they qualify and then getting that student and that family that hotspot. The hotspots we found, they're not great for streaming videos and those kinds of things. So if you flip a classroom, you still may have to make time for them to do that somehow at school. But it does work for basic kinds of things related to Google Docs, Google Forms, those kinds of things. A couple additional reminders. Make sure you check your email that came from Ms. Smith yesterday about our bell schedule for next week. Our bell schedule is altered for next week due to no school on Monday and then 1 day, full day, and then 3 half days next week. So check that out with your planning team and make sure that everybody's on the same page. Also, Dr. Gant shared an email yesterday that instructed everybody where to be for PL. We will in the morning have some school-based PL related. Mr. Hammock-Breger will be sending out some information with regard to that an hour of your time will be used there with him, but the rest of the time in the morning will be on your own. And then the afternoon you have assignments. Be sure to check that document carefully depending on what your teaching assignment is, because some folks are in the NPL all day long opposed to just the afternoon. If you have questions about that, you're free to email any administrator or Dr. Boza. Also, Ms. Weaver reminded everybody about it's been embedded in what Ms. Moon has sent for parent-teacher conferences. There is a new doc. If you've been around a while, you know we used to fill out slips of paper to say how students were doing in each class and sort those and get those to advisors. Now it's on a Google Doc that each teacher has a tab, and you fill out for each one of your students, and then you can go to your advisee tab, and then you'll have all the information that all teachers have entered about your advisees. So we're asking that you have this done no later than next Tuesday, please, because really if you're putting your fellow colleagues at risk if they're sitting there with their advice and say, well, the teacher didn't say anything about how that student was doing in class. It maybe ends up more time on your end at the end as well, because they then will request an individual parent conference with you. So please make sure you get that done. If you have any questions, Ms. Weaver or Mr. Barner, they were strategic in getting that document set up, if you're needing support with that. If you have any questions regarding this meeting, please feel free to email me and I will clarify. I hope you find this beneficial, and have a great day.